conspiracy theories, the paranormal, UFOs, aliens, and all things strange and unusual. This is Black Lotus. So, just last weekend, we were talking about Bigfoot, you know, one of the most famous cryptids in the world. And then I came across this subject of Dogman. And I personally, I'd never heard of it before, but apparently it's ranked up there pretty close to Bigfoot, I guess.
There's been lots of sightings.
There's been a lot of sightings, and it's primarily known as the Michigan Dogman, but there are sightings all over the world.
Right.
And we're going to get into that in a minute. Really quick, I want to mention that we now have a merchandise page. Yay. So, and here I'm announcing this, and I don't even have any of the stuff yet. We have coffee mugs, we have t-shirts, hoodies, that kind of stuff, and all with the Black Lotus logo on it. So definitely check it out. I'd love to give you the URL to the thing, the web address, but it's kind of long, but we're at what is it called? Teespring, I believe, and I'll drop a link for that in the description.
That's a lot easier than giving you a bunch of numbers, letters, and link stuff.
Yeah. It'd be kind of crazy to do that, but anyway, let's get into this, man. The first thing I want to say is that I suppose we should kind of describe what dogmen or the dogmen are. And what they basically are is they're reported to be these very large wolf-like creatures, and they're not saying that they're wolfmen.
Right, there's a big difference.
Yeah, they're not saying they're like lycanthropes or anything like that. They're saying it's actually a breed of dog out there, breed of canine that just happens to be very large. And the sightings that have occurred, these things stand like upwards to 7 feet tall, and they come in possibly different breeds. They're saying, because some of the sightings, I mean, it's kind of like with Bigfoot. Some of the sightings, they're saying the fur is all black, and there's some of the sightings that's tan, and some of it's kind of a brown and that kind of thing. I even thought, I think I remember seeing one that it was reported as being orange in color. Almost a reddish.
That was probably like a red strawberry blonde. Interesting. I hadn't seen that one.
But the reason that they're known in Michigan is because there's just an exponential number of sightings there, and pretty much all over Michigan. But really, where it's concentrated in is in the in like the northwest quadrant of the Lower Peninsula there. And which is a very heavily forested area and marshy as well. So something like that, I think, could probably exist in that area without too much of a problem. But I don't think that their existence is contingent upon being in a marshy land, because I mean, we've even had sightings here in Nevada, or a sighting anyway that I know of here in Nevada, and we're going to get into that sighting, what happened, a little later. But anyway, what do you think they are?
I don't know. I agree with you. It's kind of like a Bigfoot, where the sightings are all over the place, but nobody has proof, and it's a whole creature unto itself. I don't think it's like a man that turns into a wolf, because these are supposedly all year long.
Yeah, right.
And I don't think it's like a voodoo curse person or something like that.
Right,
I think it actually is, like you said, a species.
Yeah.
But there's been lore about them for
ever. I mean, the first reported sighting was in 1887, and that was in Wexford County, Michigan, and it was by two lumberjacks. And you think the lumberjacks, maybe they were hoaxing it, but back in 1887, I just don't really see people like that doing much in the way of hoaxes.
Right.
And you think that lumberjacks, they know wildlife because they're around it all the time. So it's not like they could have mistaken it for something else. Oftentimes people think the Bigfoot is mistaken for a bear, or, a bear is mistaken for a Bigfoot. And so, this just goes to show you, people like to discount these sightings, these cryptid sightings, as being something natural. But the fact is, a lot of these reports come from people that know wildlife,
Right.
and they know the difference between a bear and Bigfoot. They know the difference between the standard sized wolf and this thing, which is supposed to be huge. You know,
And you mentioned that it was reported that early in Michigan, and like we said, they've been being reported for centuries. It started in India. Alexander the Great saw one there, and he reported that was
Is that
the
right?
4th century.
Is that right?
So I mean, that's a long time ago that these creatures have supposedly been around, longer than Bigfoot. So this is ancient lore. I mean, the Dogman Island that the Buddhist missionaries have said reported, where there's an actually island filled with dog-headed creatures like this, and dogmen is what they called them. Even the Cherokee Indians, they have what's called the Oolonga Dalala.
Okay, say
Long
that 10
dog.
times.
Exactly. Long dog. It ended up coming out to long dog, so it makes it easier for people to say, which is basically talking about the same creature.
Yeah.
So yeah, these have been around forever.
Well, one theory suggests that it's not a canine at all. That it's actually a long extinct baboon, and it's called the Dinopithecus. And these things, they were around during the Pliocene era in South Africa, and they think that possibly they migrated out to through northern Europe and then into the States. And so they're thinking possibly it's that. And what these things are, I mean, these things would grow. The males would grow to about 5 feet tall when they were on their all fours.
That's pretty big.
But they were able to stand up and walk as a gorilla walks, as a baboon walks, and even as a man walks. And when they stood up from being 5 foot tall on all fours, they would stand up and they would be about 7 feet tall. And, and baboons have that long snout. And so I think that they could be easily mistaken for a wolf type creature.
Oh, well, especially if it's a different breed of them, they could have a longer snout than normal.
Right,
I haven't seen
right.
pictures of it. So.
Now, the thing that kind of disproves that idea is because they have never found any fossils here in the or anywhere else except for in northern Africa.
Oh, okay.
They've never found any bones to prove that these things do exist or even ever existed elsewhere in the world. So
like you said, they've been reported all over the world. Every continent except for Antarctica, they've been reported.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Really? Huh.
So
that's interesting. Hey, speaking of continents, we're going to be doing an interesting show tomorrow. It's going to be one of our longer programs, and this one is going to be based on Atlantis and Lemuria, or otherwise known as Mu, M-U. So just wanted to bring that up, that we're going to be doing that tomorrow. So
I thought we were doing it about cows.
Cows?
Yeah, moo.
Moo. No.
Confused me. Oh no, I got to start doing some different research now.
Yeah. So, but anyway, yeah, I thought that whole theory about the Dinopithecus was an interesting thought, but I think that it doesn't really hold a lot of water. I mean,
there's a lot of those theories that don't hold water.
Yeah. But... at first glance, it seems plausible, but yeah, I think they're right. But it's kind of like Bigfoot. Where are the bones? It's kind of one of those things. But.
Now, there has been pictures taken, and I've seen some pictures just like Bigfoot. They always seem to be blurry and out of focus, and why is that?
You tell me, man. I don't know why anybody can't get a good picture of anything paranormal.
Some people say it's because of the energy it releases.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, getting back to the Michigan Dogman, we were talking about looks. How about sound? Now, I've heard that they sound like anything up to almost like a human screaming.
Okay.
Now, I was like, I saw this thing and have to go listen to it. It's a couple who are in Troy, Michigan, and they're driving along and have to swerve to miss a giant creature crossing the road and end up in a ditch.
Oh, really?
And they call OnStar, and OnStar's talking to them, what's your emergency, blah, 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 blah. And as they're sitting here telling that they saw a creature crossing the road and it wasn't a bear, they knew bears and the normal story that they were trying to, all of a sudden you hear this loud scream and the thing just cuts off because they were attacked and they were never found.
Really? Well, where did they find the Was it through OnStar that was recording
It
this?
was through OnStar, and now I haven't been able to find out much more information about that. But the recording's out there, and even if it's faked, it was still kind of creepy.
Well, I can't see OnStar participating in anything like that. You know, I mean, and they would have to have a hand in it.
Unless they faked the OnStar voice and everything too.
Yeah, that's entirely possible too.
You know,
Yeah,
because of course reports are private, so there's no reports made, and there's no information about the actual report to the public.
Well, not to the public, but certainly to the authorities. And if these people turn up missing, they would have to release that, I would imagine.
But I thought it was an interesting story.
Yeah, yeah. I know there's been several reports of possible killings.
Right, but for the most part, they say that they're not
docile.
Yeah, docile. Yeah. They're not gentle creatures, but they don't bother you.
Kind of like Bigfoot.
Right.
You know, I mean, there's been reports about Bigfoot attacking people and stuff like that, but it's so rare.
It's more usually, I think they're doing it in self-defense or feel threatened in some way.
Right, exactly.
So if you ever come across a Dogman, people, don't go near it. Remember that. Leave it alone. You'll be okay.
And again, that happened in Troy, Michigan, which again is near the that northwest quadrant of the Lower Peninsula. So again, I mean, a lot of these reports happen out of there. Tell me, speaking of Michigan, tell me about what happened with that DJ who wrote a song about this and didn't realize what he was doing.
Right. It was interesting. Back in 1987, it was Steve Cook of WTCM FM, which is Traverse City, Michigan. Okay, he's a disc jockey there. And so for an April Fool's joke, he writes this song called The Legend. And it's all about a dog man.
Okay.
And he plays it on April Fool's thinking he's making a joke. Well, yeah. He all of a sudden starts getting all these calls from listeners telling him that they've seen that same creature, thinking he's making a confession or something. Or talking about,
I see.
you know, that this is a real creature. And he was just like, what are you talking about? Well, he comes to find out that there's a lore about this, the Michigan, Dogman and stuff, and he unknowingly has written a little song about it. Well, there ended up being over 100 reports about this creature from this song to this radio station.
Really?
And from the first time he played it on the song, for the next few weeks, it was the top requested song on the radio.
Of course. Everything's got a trend. Yeah.
So, back in 2007, he added even more verses. Actually, in 97, he added more verses. In 2007, he recorded it again. Okay. And he sells the CDs and the cassettes and stuff like that. But he added a few more verses to it because there was a break-in in 1997 of supposedly Dogman breaking into a cabin in the woods. So he had to add some more verses to his song. And I was like, well, what a way to get yourself out there and get a name. Because you accidentally write a song about a true legend.
Yeah, right. Jeez. Easier ways to claim your fame, man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. And again, we earlier we had mentioned that there are sightings all over America for this thing. It's not strictly a Michigan thing. It's all over America and all over the world. And even here in Nevada, we had one, and that was up in Hawthorne, Nevada. Yeah. So again, I mean, because I was saying that I don't think these things, their existence is contingent upon the environment. Because Hawthorne, there's a wooded area up on Hawthorne, but it's not like it is like in Michigan. So I wonder if there are different breeds that can acclimate to different climates.
I would think that would have to be the case if they're being reported on every continent but Antarctica. That's a lot of different type of climates.
Right. And I imagine they're not up in the Arctic either. Yeah.
I would think that maybe the ice cold would be bad.
Too cold. Yeah.
Maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
But Bigfoot has. I mean, you've got the Sasquatch up there, the abominable snowman and stuff like that.
That kind. Well, that's not the Arctic though. That's up in the Indies.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
but I did want to mention that both Bigfoot and Dogman have both been sighted up in Canada, and it gets cold as hell up there, but not like Arctic cold, But yeah.
There was no sightings in Maine, surprisingly.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really? As woody as that place is.
Yeah. No
that's
sightings in Maine.
kind of strange. Huh.
I looked up a bunch of different states on a site and on the site we're going to talk about, and it's amazing that those are only reports I could find. I mean, there are probably still reports of something somewhere.
I find the whole cryptid idea, and I just find cryptozoology just fascinating.
Yeah.
Because I'm a big believer in that old Shakespearean saying, there are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy. And I think that there are a lot of things that we have still yet to discover on Earth.
How many species are discovered every month?
Right. I just saw something that they discovered a new fish, a new aquatic creature.
I saw something about that. I don't remember much about it.
Off of South Carolina, South Carolina coast, North Carolina coast, one of the two. And they have video footage of this thing, and it's just this. It looks kind of like an eel sort of thing, but it moves very fast. It's a predator. And but yeah, so I mean, there you go. I mean, we're always discovering something new.
Yep.
I mean, and so I can never discount this kind of stuff. And so the thing is that again, I'm kind of into this stuff, and I'm surprised I've never heard of the Dogman.
Yeah, I'm surprised too, because I've heard of them.
Have you?
There was even what movie was it called? Dog Soldiers.
Oh, I remember that.
That was they were more dogmen than werewolves.
Were they?
Yeah.
I never saw it, but
I think if I do remember,
the
they do transfer from man to wolf in that. Or dog. I don't remember, but they were more like a dogman creature looking thing than a werewolf or a Bigfoot.
I'm not a big believer in werewolves. The lore behind it. I mean, I just don't buy. I buy vampires before I buy werewolves. However, I do believe in lycanthropy, that people can turn into beasts. And that's not to say that they turn into the animal itself, but they take on the aspects.
More like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
Very much so, yeah. Because I do believe in the idea that people lose their minds, and they do things that they don't remember, and they turn into just beasts. And
especially on full moons, and I'm not trying to be funny.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Both of us have worked at bars, and both of us, I'm sure, dreaded any night that was a full moon.
Good God, no doubt.
You knew there was going to end up being a fight.
Yeah.
Always.
Every single time, almost inevitably. Let's talk about the North American Dogman Project, which is a lot like the Bigfoot Research Organization or MUFON. They're an organization that just basically takes reports of these things and exposes them. And there's another one out there called Dogman Encounters, and at both of these places, North American Dogman Project.com is where you can find that one, the NADP. DogmanEncounters.com is the other one, and that one actually has a podcast.
Yeah, they have over 208 episodes or something like that. On both these sites are kept up recently too.
Yeah,
these are not sites. You know how many sites you go to them, and there's they haven't posted anything since 2014.
Right.
No, these have a lot of recent encounters, and they actually have interviews with all these people who have seen dogmen, and they are calling and reporting about their encounters, and they're very interesting.
Absolutely.
And I'll tell you what, you would think that you're going to listen to these people and think, oh my God, listen how crazy these people sound. But they sound saner than some of my friends.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And in fact, that's one of the things I liked about that NADP. Was that by the way, they also have a podcast, but it's more of a video cast like what we're doing here on YouTube, and I don't think they really do a podcast, an audio podcast, but dogmanencounters.com does, and in fact they have a free one, and then they have a subscription one for $3 a month or
and
something like that.
And you can get most of the episodes right online.
Yeah. But in any case, going back to the NADP, these guys, I was mentioning it to Ralph, they're kind of like us, a couple of middle-aged paranoid white men, and I don't know what it is. Having looked into a lot of cryptozoology stuff, it's usually middle-aged white men that do this kind of stuff. You don't see many people of color doing this kind of stuff. It's, for some reason, I don't know why. But anyway, but anyway, they take themselves very seriously, and they're I wouldn't say they're skeptical about the whole thing, but they at least look at it from a reasonable point of view, a
Right.
logical point of view. So it's not as though they're, it's kind of like what's that guy's name, Bigfoot Tony, you were telling me
Yeah.
about. He's not one to scream hyperbole about this stuff. He looks at things logically.
You try to look, especially when we're looking at this stuff. I try to look at it from both sides and try to put it together as a medium and say, okay, this is where it's probably more true than it's not.
Yeah. But if you're interested in this kind of stuff, definitely check it out at NorthAmericanDogmanProject.com and also DogmanEncounters.com. They have a lot of interesting reports there, a lot of interesting sightings. And again, North American Dogman Project has a YouTube video cast, and Dogman Encounters has a audio podcast. So most definitely check these places out. I think you really enjoy them. But anyway, again, like I said, tomorrow we're going to be talking about Atlantis, and we both need to start studying up on this because there's a lot of information, and we need to keep it to a 45-minute to an hour show. And
it's going to have to be.
Yeah,
I would say this is going to have to be one of those. Well, let's talk about Atlantis and just like hit on a little bit of each of the subjects. We can't go in too much in depth because there is so much out there, and there's so much information on it. It's going to be interesting.
And also, I want to bring up that early next week, I believe it's going to be on Tuesday, we are going to have an interview with actually an old coworker of mine who I just found out he had an UFO experience. So we're going to be talking to him. So that should be fun. So yeah, we got a busy week coming up. But yeah, let's get out of here for right now. What do you think?
I agree.
I want to mention one more time that we have really cool swag over at our merchandise page through teespring.com. And so definitely check it out. Again, I'm going to leave a link down below. Check it out. And the prices are very reasonable. And the place is always running discounts. On top of their already reasonable prices. Like right now, I think the coffee mugs, which usually run about $15, $16, I think they're going for like $11.
Wow.
So yeah, it's not bad. So yeah, definitely check it out. Again, we've got t-shirts, tank tops, hoodies. We even have totes. And we have stickers and totes, and we have notebooks and coffee cups. And yeah, definitely check it out. So anyway, Ralph, let's do it. Until next time, keep thinking and question everything. Hey, don't forget to like and subscribe and click that little bell so you can get a reminder every time we upload a new episode.